Steven Universe and all associated images are property of Cartoon Network, Rebecca Sugar, and any and all other respective owners. I don't know them all. All footage in this video has been used for the purpose of critique parody under fair use. Please support the official release. Let's talk about the idea that Rose had human supporters during the war. And yes, I am talking about the war that took place some 5,500 years ago. So these would be ancient humans. To be entirely honest, this is an idea that I thought that a lot of fans had already accepted, but when I expressed my belief in this theory in a now not too recent video, many of you commented your surprise. So I decided to go back and check for myself what exactly all of the evidence for this theory really was. And I've put it together in this video for all of you today. This video is going to focus on a few key pieces of evidence. There are occasional hints elsewhere throughout the series that human beings fought with Rose, but the evidence here in this video is the main argument for this theory being true. And this will come as a surprise to no one. The primary evidence for this theory comes from the Pyramid Temple found at the Strawberry Battlefield in Sirius Steven. I mentioned in my History or Prophecy video that theorists continue to come back to the Pyramid Temple constantly because of how much food for speculation it offers. And while we're going to start out in the upper mural that we've already looked at multiple times, we're actually going to be looking at some of the other murals in the room that I don't typically talk about this time around. In the central mural featuring Rose Quartz, we see her flanked by several small figures. It's been speculated that these figures are common gems that joined her cause. Some have even suggested that they're all garnets based on their very similar shape to Garnet herself, but you'll forgive me if I just go ahead and say that that's a ridiculous idea. If these figures are gems, I don't see any reason why they would all be portrayed exactly the same unless they are all the same type of gem and there simply weren't that many garnets. They could, in theory, be something like rubies that are very common, canonically speaking, but considering how accurately Rose is drawn in this scene, I don't see why other gems wouldn't be drawn just as accurately. But if this temple was created by Homeworld, and we know it was because of the insignia on the floor, then I can think of one group in particular that Homeworld might portray simplistically like this, and that's humans. We know from evidence as recent as Hit the Diamond that Homeworld gems are basically unconcerned with humans. I firmly believe that these figures standing with Rose are intended to be human beings. I mean, yeah, if they are, they're not to scale with Rose, but once again, this mural was drawn by Homeworld. Do you really think that Homeworld is going to pay as much attention to accurately portraying humans as they do to accurately portraying gems? But if you need further evidence that these figures are meant to be humans, let's look at those other murals. As the episode continues, we see Garnet and Steven fall into a series of traps. Traps that are set up like tests with a clear beginning and a clear end. These tests seem to be what is being depicted here in these smaller murals. You have the group being tested here on the left, the test itself in the middle, and then an empty panel with no figures in it on the right, suggesting that no one survived the test. And considering that the figures portrayed here are the same ones portrayed above with Rose, the idea that these figures could be gems becomes absolutely ludicrous. I mean, yeah, these traps are dangerous, technically speaking even to gems, but the idea that no gem ever would survive any of these tests is ridiculous, considering that some gems are basically invulnerable, others are immune to heat, have incredible reflexes, or can fly. These tests, in my opinion, could not have been built for any other purpose than to test the capabilities of humans in battle. And I can't think of any other reason why Homeworld would do that when they have been shown to be mostly unconcerned with humans, unless Rose had enlisted the help of humans to fight in the war. I mentioned all the way back in my timeline of the Gem Civil War video that I think the battle at Strawberry Battlefield started as an attempt by Rose to free human captors from the Pyramid Temple. If I'm right about humans being used in these trials, and about it being humans who are pictured with Rose in the mural above them, then doesn't it make sense that that's what Rose came to the Strawberry Battlefield to do? And if you still don't believe me, let's look at just a couple of those other smaller instances of evidence. And I'm going to start by asking you guys a question. Where did Pearl get those swords? The ones that she used in the answer. Where did she get them? I've theorized that she didn't know how to summon her gem weapon at this point because no one did. But if they were swords made for gems, you would think that at least the Quartz soldiers in Blue Diamond's court would have been armed with similar physical weapons. But they're not. That means that Pearl could only have gotten those swords on Earth from humans. Whether they were forged specifically for her or she simply took possession of swords already in existence, those swords must have come from humans. And what about Rose's sword? She didn't start using it until much later in the war, well after she had cut all connections with Homeworld. She couldn't have gotten her sword from Homeworld either, and considering its size, it must have been forged specifically for her. If she also got her sword from humans, they must have been her ally in some capacity, to be willing to forge an oversized sword that only this one person would ever be able to use, as far as they knew, when this one specific person didn't have any money with which to pay them. There's also the fact that we know from the painting in the episode So Many Birthdays that the gems did work with humans during colonial time. Yes, they did try to discourage Captain Dewey from settling in the area, but once he did, it seems they fell into a pattern of working with colonial humans, only sequestering themselves off later on. Now, this doesn't guarantee that they have experience working with humans in the past and were just falling back into habit, but it definitely suggests it as a possibility. Maybe I'm off base here, but the evidence just seems too plain for me to overlook. Like with all of my theories, I'm not claiming to be 100% correct here. I'm not claiming to know that this is true. But if we did find out down the line that humans used to fight alongside Rose in the war, I certainly wouldn't be surprised. But what do you think, guys? Does this theory pass even the most rigorous tests, or does it put the error in trial and error? Let's get a discussion going in the comments section down below. Either way, this has been AJ22, and I will talk to you guys later. Do you have a theory idea or merely a musing about the show that you'd like me to discuss? You can head on over to my Facebook page and send me a message detailing your ideas, and if I find them interesting enough, I'll be sure to respond. Or you could head on over to my Tumblr page and send me an ask. If it's not something that I've covered before, I'll be sure to answer. If you are on Facebook or Tumblr, I also recommend that you like and or follow me there as well to keep up to date on all of my content as well as any supplementary content that I might post on either of those sites. And if you know anyone on Facebook or Tumblr who might find my content interesting, please share it with them. I'd really appreciate it.